You have imagined. You have felt the end. You have seen yourself with it, being it, living from it. But the path from where you stand to where you belong is not drawn by your logic. The infinite mind never repeats itself. It moves through the least expected doors, walks silently down the corridors you forgot to check. Your transformation rarely announces itself. It arrives wrapped in confusion, delay, heartbreak, or even coincidence. You might say, this wasn't part of the plan. But what you call disruption is simply the answer wearing another name. You wanted peace, then chaos came. You asked for strength, then loneliness arrived. You sought love, and rejection opened your heart. The things that shook you were the very things that freed you. You didn't expect the lesson to come this way, but now you see it was the only way. Stop trying to trace the plan. Your job is not to predict the miracle, but to trust that it's already unfolding. Even the delays, the detours, the disappointments, they are threads in the greater design. Your assumption shapes the outcome, but the means are divine and untamed. You must walk with faith, not foresight. The vision belongs to you, but the method belongs to the higher wisdom that knows the perfect way. Many look for signs in the familiar, but real change, life-altering change, never feels comfortable. It shakes you before it builds you. It removes before it rewards. It burns before it blesses. You must dare to say, I don't understand what's happening, but I trust it's exactly what I need. I didn't expect this, but this is the shift I asked for. Because it is. Because the unexpected is not random. Because what you didn't see coming is the only thing that could have pushed you to become what you were always meant to be. So let go of how you thought your blessing would arrive. Surrender your timeline. Release your obsession with controlling the form. And remember, the thing you never expected will be the thing that transforms you, not by force, but by perfect design. Let it come, let it change everything. What you often call coincidence, accident, or even misfortune is not what it seems. You live in a world that reflects your inner state, but the reflection rarely appears in the form you anticipate. That is the divine play. To disguise order as chaos, to dress answers in the garments of confusion, and to send your miracle through a door you never thought to open. The divine pattern always hides in the unexpected. You may believe you know how your blessing should arrive. You may assume it will come gently, logically, and with clarity. But the great pattern of life moves not through what is obvious, but through what awakens you. It hides itself in what shakes you, stirs you, unsettles your plans, and challenges your sense of control. Why? Because only through the unexpected are you pulled out of repetition and pushed into revelation. Only through the mystery do you learn to trust in something greater than your senses. Often, when life rearranges itself in a way you did not ask for, your first response is resistance. You say, this shouldn't be happening, or I didn't plan for this, or why now? But look again. Every turning point in your life came through something you didn't foresee. The jobs you lost, the people who left, the doors that closed. At the time, you saw them as setbacks. But they were sacred movements. They were not endings. They were realignments. The divine doesn't ask for your approval before delivering the necessary change. It acts in perfect intelligence regardless of whether you understand it. You must remember, the answers you seek do not always arrive looking like solutions. Sometimes they arrive disguised as breakdowns. But these breakdowns are not destruction. They are construction in progress. You cannot enter a new reality while still clinging to the old. And so, what is no longer aligned must fall. What no longer serves must be removed. The higher pattern dismantles the lower one, not to hurt you, but to make room for the life you truly desire. To the logical mind, it will seem as if things are going wrong, but nothing is ever going wrong. Things are only unfolding in ways you do not yet comprehend. There is order beyond your perception. There is beauty behind the confusion. There is intelligence at work, carefully weaving together moments, people, decisions, delays, all aligning in divine precision to bring you to what is yours. You may think you were denied, but you were being delayed for something better. You may feel you were forgotten, but you were being protected. You may have believed you failed, but in truth you were being redirected. What looked like an ending was the beginning of something greater. But that greater thing had to come in a way you never expected, or you would have tried to control it, force it, or resist it. So the divine must come wrapped in mystery. It must surprise you. It must appear uninvited. Only then can it bypass your doubt, your fear, your limitation, and plant within you a deeper faith. One that says, I don't know how this will work out, but I trust that it will. One that no longer fears the unknown, but welcomes it. One that sees every twist, every pause, every change, not as punishment, but as perfect orchestration. And the moment you stop judging what arrives, the pattern reveals itself. You begin to see how every detour had meaning, how every heartbreak held a lesson, how every delay was a gift. You understand now, the unexpected was never random. It was necessary. It was always the bridge, never the barrier. It was the divine in disguise, reshaping your world so it could deliver the very thing your soul called forth. What you didn't expect is what changes everything. Imagination is the sacred starting point of every creation. It is where the invisible becomes felt and the formless begins to take shape. When you assume something to be true, not wish for it, not beg for it, but fully accept it as your inner reality, you set a destination. You impress upon the unseen the image of your desire. You give the infinite a blueprint. But what you must understand is this: while you choose the destination, the higher order chooses the path. Imagination prepares the way, but reality always decides the route. You may see yourself wealthy, loved, free, successful, and that inner vision is real. It is not a fantasy. It is a seed. But how that seed will sprout, how it will grow, and the exact form it takes in your outer world, that is not yours to manage. The moment you assume the wish fulfilled, the process begins. But it will not unfold according to your logic. It will unfold according to a higher intelligence that knows what must change, who must exit, and what must be removed from your life in order to make space for what you've declared. This is why, so often, the path shocks you. It doesn't feel smooth or predictable. Sometimes it feels like everything is falling apart. But this is only because you're watching the old structure collapse while the new one is still forming. Do not panic when it looks like nothing is happening, or worse, that things are moving backward. Reality is not punishing you. It is reorganizing itself. It must remove the old energies, the outdated beliefs, the people and circumstances that are no longer compatible with the new identity you've chosen within. You may think this isn't the way it was supposed to happen, but how could you know the way? The mind is limited in scope, but the infinite sees the full design. Your role is not to figure out how it comes to pass. Your role is to feel the end, to remain loyal to the vision, and to allow life to move through whatever doors it needs to walk through, even if those doors are unexpected, even if they scare you. Let go of the need to manipulate the process. The more you try to force the how, the more you delay the arrival. Why? Because interference comes from doubt. Doubt weakens the vibration of the assumption. But when you trust the outcome, when you say, I don't care how, I just know it's done, then the route opens effortlessly. Life begins to mirror that certainty, not by obeying your plan, but by obeying your inner state. You must become comfortable with uncertainty. You must learn to walk through detours with faith, not fear. Because sometimes the route life chooses will take you through a challenge, not to test you, but to prepare you. Sometimes it will remove what you thought you needed, so you can discover what you actually need. Sometimes it will close the door you prayed would open, not because it was wrong to ask, but because it wasn't the door that leads to where you're truly meant to be. The path is divine, even when it's unclear. Trust that. Trust that your assumption, held faithfully, is enough to shift the world around you. Trust that every step, even the confusing ones, is part of a perfect unfolding. You are not being led astray. You are being carried forward, even if it doesn't look the way you expected. Let your imagination do its sacred work. Let it prepare the way by claiming the feeling of already having what you desire. But then, step back. Let life handle the details. Let the higher intelligence guide the route. It knows every shortcut, every hidden opportunity, every alignment waiting for you. Your job is not to plan the route. Your job is to trust the arrival. When everything feels like it's falling apart, it's easy to label the moment as failure, misfortune, or punishment. But this is a misunderstanding of how true transformation takes place. What you call a breakdown is not the end. It's the preparation. It is the unseen doorway, the hidden passage through which the new must enter. The old world, built on outdated beliefs, attachments, and patterns, must collapse before the new can take root. There is no other way. You cannot hold on to the familiar and still receive the unfamiliar. You cannot stay the same and yet become something greater. And so, life in its perfect design orchestrates moments that shake the foundation of everything you thought was secure. Jobs end, relationships dissolve, routines shatter, and identities break down. Not because something has gone wrong, but because something higher is trying to break through. The breakdown feels like chaos. It feels like confusion and grief. But underneath the surface, there is a deeper order at work. The crumbling you feel is the tearing down of walls that no longer serve you. You may not recognize it at first because it hurts. It feels like loss, but you are not losing. You are being released. You are being freed from the limitations you unknowingly accepted as truth. And here lies the paradox. The most profound breakthroughs come disguised as endings. You prayed for growth, for peace, for purpose, but you did not realize that those things require space. They require the removal of everything that contradicts them. You asked to rise, but the rise demands a letting go of the weight you didn't know you were carrying. So the divine steps in and gently, or sometimes suddenly, begins removing what blocks your expansion. It may feel cruel, but it is mercy. It may look like destruction, but it is recreation. Every storm has its purpose. Every collapse is clearing the ground for something truer, something stronger, something more aligned with who you are becoming. In these moments, you must not panic. You must not retreat into the old just because it is familiar. This is where faith is forged. Not when things are easy, but when everything feels uncertain. When the ground beneath you shifts, you must anchor in the unseen. You must trust that what is being removed is making room for what is better, even if you can't see it yet. Especially then. Think back to your life. How many times did your greatest changes come after what you thought was your lowest point? How many times did you rise not in spite of the breakdown, but because of it? The breakdown removes your illusions. It silences your distractions. It strips away the false sense of control. And in that stillness, that emptiness, the truth begins to whisper. New desires emerge. New clarity is born, and from that a new world begins to shape itself. Do not resist the collapse. Allow it. Let it do its sacred work. Let it dismantle the life that no longer reflects the real you. Grieve if you must, but don't cling. The pain is temporary, but the renewal is eternal. Soon you will walk through the ashes and realize you are not broken. You are rebuilt, stronger, wiser, lighter. The doorway that looked like an end was in truth a beginning in disguise. What you thought was falling apart was really falling into place. When life throws something unexpected into your path, the immediate impulse is often resistance. The mind scrambles to control, to fix, to make sense of what appears to be chaos. But this reaction, though natural, cuts you off from a deeper truth. Not everything unplanned is wrong. In fact, many of the things you didn't anticipate are perfectly orchestrated moments, not to destroy your path, but to redirect it towards something higher. To experience their gift, you must learn to be still in the face of the unpredictable. Stillness is not passive. It is not indifference or retreat. It is power under control. It is the quiet confidence that comes from trusting something greater than what your senses can see. It is choosing to observe rather than react, to stay centered rather than scattered. When you become still in the middle of uncertainty, you allow the deeper pattern of life to reveal itself. Something unplanned does not mean something unwanted. But because it doesn't fit the structure of your expectations, you might miss its blessing. You might rush to label it as a mistake, but all too often what shows up uninvited is actually the answer to what your soul has asked for. Not in the form you expected, but in the form you needed. You asked for growth, and life sent discomfort. You asked for clarity, and life brought confusion. You asked for alignment, and life removed the people and places that no longer fit. At first glance, these things seem like problems, but stillness gives you the space to see through the illusion. Stillness says, wait, look again. There is something sacred happening here. You are never being punished by unpredictability. You are being expanded by it. And expansion always comes with the unknown. If you want a life greater than the one you've known, you must also allow the unknown to lead you. You must give up the illusion of control and let the deeper current take you where you're truly meant to go. Being still does not mean doing nothing. It means doing the inner work while the outer world shifts. It means asking, what is this teaching me? What in me is being called to change? Is this the disruption that will lead to a breakthrough I didn't even know I needed? These are the questions that open your eyes to the seed buried within the moment. There is always a seed, a hidden opportunity, a concealed answer, but you can only recognize it when you step out of the noise of panic and step into the silence of awareness. The unpredictable will continue to show up, not to harm you, but to wake you up, to free you from the narrow plans of the mind and usher you into the vastness of the spirit. Let go of the idea that everything must go according to plan. What you call a detour is often the most direct path to your answered prayer. What you call interruption is sometimes intervention. And what you call loss is often the very thing that makes room for something far more aligned. So the next time something unexpected occurs, pause. Don't resist. Don't fight it. Observe it with stillness. Stay rooted in the feeling of trust. Remind yourself, even this has purpose. Even this holds a gift. The gift may not be obvious now, but one day you will look back and see it clearly. The moment that looked like a disruption was the moment everything began to align. Unpredictability is not the enemy of your manifestation, it is the carrier of it. Be still. Let it deliver what your heart has already called in. You spoke the words. You imagined the outcome. You felt the desire and held the vision. You asked with your heart, with your faith, and with your longing. But when the answer came, it looked nothing like you expected. And so you hesitated, you doubted, you questioned whether it was even your manifestation at all. What you didn't yet understand is that every true manifestation is delivered in disguise. Life never moves in a straight line. The journey from your desire to its fulfillment is not built from what is logical, it's built from what is necessary. And the necessary is often unfamiliar. The form that delivers what you want is rarely the form you anticipated. The very thing you've asked for may come dressed as loss. It may arrive through an ending, a delay, a detour, even a moment of silence. But this is not because life is cruel or indifferent. It is because transformation cannot fit inside your limited expectations. What is real must be received without condition. You must be willing to see beyond appearances. Because the moment you declare a desire, reality begins to shape itself around that declaration. It does not ask you for approval. It does not consult your list of preferences. It simply begins aligning, removing, rearranging, carving a path from where you are to where you belong. And in that alignment, things are shaken loose. What you thought was permanent may fall away. What you relied on may dissolve. But this is not the absence of your manifestation. It is the arrival of it in a form you never considered. The unfamiliar is not the enemy. It is the envelope that holds the answer. But you must open it without fear. You must be able to say, "This is not what I expected, but maybe this is what I need." Because what you need will often surprise you. It will pull you into growth. It will challenge your assumptions. It will teach you to receive with open hands, not closed fists. Think about the most powerful changes in your life. Did any of them arrive in a way you predicted? Or did they come through people you never imagined, in moments you didn't plan, through circumstances you wouldn't have chosen? That is how the universe works, not by giving you what your mind can control, but by giving you what your soul has called forth, even if it looks unfamiliar. When you ask for something, don't demand that it show up in one specific way. Don't box it in with rigid expectations. Allow space, allow surprise, allow mystery. Because the deeper truth is this: the thing you ask for is already here, but you may not recognize it yet. It may be wrapped in challenge. It may be hidden beneath discomfort. But it's here, unfolding, moving, shifting behind the scenes. This is why surrender is powerful. Not as weakness, but as wisdom. You surrender the how. You surrender the timing. And most importantly, you surrender the form. You trust that your assumption is heard, honored, and already being fulfilled, even if the delivery doesn't match your prediction. What you must learn is this: manifestation is not about controlling reality. It's about accepting the blessing in whatever form it chooses to come. Be ready to say yes to what you don't recognize at first. Be ready to walk through unfamiliar doors. Because the more you expand your openness, the more miracles can move freely into your life. You asked, and it is coming. But you didn't expect it like this. That's okay. Open your eyes. Open your heart. The blessing is here, just not in the way you imagined. It's better. It's wiser. And it knows exactly how to reach you. You spend so much of your energy trying to plan, predict, and control every detail of your life. You draw timelines. You create lists. You imagine how things should unfold step by step. You believe that by holding on tightly, you are increasing your chances of success. But the truth is far more gentle, far more profound. Your life will not change when your plan is perfect. It will change when you surrender. Surrender is not the absence of intention. It is the release of resistance. It's not about giving up on your desires. It's about giving up your grip on how they must appear. You have the right to desire, to imagine, to assume the outcome, but you do not need to control the delivery. In fact, the very act of trying to force it is what delays it. The moment you stop demanding a specific method, the moment you stop micromanaging the universe, you create the space for your desire to flow into your life naturally. Control is rooted in fear, the fear that if you don't push, it won't happen, that if you don't direct every step, life will miss you. But the truth is, life already knows the path. Your desire is already heard. The moment you imagined it and felt it to be true, a new course began unfolding in the unseen. The only thing that blocks it is your attachment to how it must come. Imagine placing an order at a restaurant and then barging into the kitchen every few seconds to check if the chef is doing it right. That's what your mind does when it refuses to let go. It doubts, it interferes, it delays. But when you place your order and trust the process, the outcome arrives with ease. Surrender works the same way. It is the invisible hand that clears the way for miracles. Life is not a machine to be controlled, it is a river to be flowed with. When you surrender, you enter that flow. You stop paddling upstream and you allow the current to carry you exactly where you need to be. You find that opportunities show up without strain. The right people appear, the right moments open, not because you forced them, but because you aligned with them. There is a higher intelligence that governs this world. It sees what you cannot. It knows what must shift, who must exit, and what must unfold before your desire becomes reality. You may not understand the timing or the detours, but surrender says, I trust that this too is part of it. It doesn't fight what comes, it accepts, it allows. And in doing so, it invites rapid transformation. Many people wait for their lives to change before they surrender. But it's the other way around. The change begins the moment you let go. When you stop insisting that it has to be a certain way, life responds with grace. It brings you exactly what you need, often faster and in better form than you imagined. This is the hidden key. Your desire doesn't manifest when you force it. It manifests when you trust it. When you relax into the feeling that it's already yours, and you release your need to control, that is when the shift occurs. That is when the door opens. That is when the unseen becomes seen. You don't have to know the how. You only have to know the truth of what you want and feel it real within you. Let the details be handled by the wisdom that moves the stars and shapes the seasons. That wisdom lives in you, and it will not fail you. So breathe, let go. You've planned enough, you've tried enough. Now let the mystery take over. Your life will change, not when you push harder, but when you finally surrender. What you didn't expect will be what changes everything. Not because life enjoys surprise, but because transformation rarely wears a label. The answers to your deepest desires often arrive disguised as disruption, delay, or detour. But underneath the surface, something sacred is unfolding. The divine pattern hides in the unfamiliar, and your greatest breakthrough may be concealed in what once felt like a breakdown. You imagine the end, you assume the outcome, and that was enough to begin the process. But the path is not yours to control. The route, the method, the timing, these belong to something far wiser than your understanding. So when the unexpected happens, don't resist. Be still. Observe. Receive. Let the unplanned guide you. Let the unfamiliar bless you. Surrender your grip on the how and trust the truth you've already declared. Because the moment you let go is the moment everything begins to align. The blessing comes not in the way you expected, but in the way that was always meant for you. Tane, thanks. Thank you for allowing this message to meet you today. May it remind you that what seems uncertain is often the beginning of something extraordinary. Trust the unseen, surrender to the unfolding, and know what's meant for you is already on its way. There is a moment in every life when something hidden becomes visible, when what was once only felt is suddenly seen. And though the world will call it a surprise, it is no surprise to the one who lived it inwardly first. You are not waiting for a blessing, you are becoming it. It is already within you, rising quietly, taking shape in the stillness of your belief. Your imagination is the womb where miracles are conceived. What you accept as true, regardless of appearances, begins to form beyond the curtain of sight. You do not have to force or chase anything. That which is yours by divine imagination comes to you not with noise, but with order. A blessing is never truly unexpected. It is the result of a spiritual law obeyed in silence. You see, the shift happens the moment you surrender to the unseen truth. The moment you dare to walk, speak, and feel from the end, as though the thing you desire is already in your possession. From that posture, the world must reflect you. It cannot help it. When you assume the feeling of wealth, of healing, of love, of freedom, even when none of it yet appears in your world, you have already claimed your inheritance. The world will catch up. Do not ask how. That is not your part. Your part is to remain loyal to the unseen blessing. And when it arrives, when the door swings open, the call comes through, the opportunity falls into your lap. It will appear sudden, but you will smile, for you knew. You knew the moment you stopped begging and began embodying. You knew when you no longer reached out, but instead received inwardly. So let the world call it a surprise. Let them be amazed at how everything shifted in your favor. But you will know it was never luck, never random. It was the law of consciousness, faithfully honored in the quiet places of your heart. You were always the blessing, and now the blessing must reveal itself. Prepare to receive what your soul has already welcomed, because a surprise blessing is not coming. It is already here. What appears sudden to the world has long been growing in your imagination. A surprise blessing, they say, but to you, it is no surprise at all, for you have carried it silently, watered it with belief, and held it in the sanctuary of your mind until it ripened into form. Others may only see the surface, the instant when something materializes, the breakthrough, the good news. But beneath that single moment lies a journey that began the day you first dared to imagine something greater. You are the seed of the blessing. The moment you first felt that inner pull, that quiet knowing that something more was possible, the seed was planted. It wasn't the world that gave you the desire, it was your higher self revealing what was already yours. Your desire is not random, it is the preview of coming blessings, the whisper of a future reality seeking to unfold through you. You didn't need proof, you needed vision. Because in this reality, things do not happen to you, they unfold from you. And that unfolding begins in imagination. The invisible realm is not just fantasy, it is where all creation starts. Every structure, every invention, every love story, every fortune began as a single thought. The same is true for your life. The moment you persist in that inner knowing, you begin to impress upon the formless substance of life. The world may not change immediately. It may still look the same, still sound the same, still echo the limitations of your past, but underneath everything is moving. Everything is shifting. And it's shifting in response to the state you have assumed. You don't chase the blessing, you embody the version of yourself who already holds it. You live from the end, not toward it. That's how it grows. That's how the invisible becomes visible. And just as a seed must break before it blooms, so must your old identity fall away. You may feel doubt, you may feel resistance, you may feel alone in your vision, but even that is part of the process. The seed cannot remain intact and still become a tree. Something has to break open, something has to surrender. It may take time. But the delay is not denial, it is development. It is the root system forming beneath the surface. It is life arranging itself on your behalf. It is your belief deepening, your imagination sharpening, your inner atmosphere aligning with the new. And when it finally appears, when the phone rings, the offer arrives, the door opens, it will look like a miracle. But it is not magic. It is a manifestation, a harvest of the unseen. The blessing is not outside of you, it is an extension of you, a reflection of the state you chose to dwell in, even when nothing around you changed, even when you had every reason to give up. You didn't. You held the vision, you carried the feeling, and because you did, life had no choice but to echo your inner world. So no, it is not luck. It is not a coincidence. It is not a surprise. It is evidence. It is proof that what you dare to believe in the silence becomes what others marvel at in the light. You are not the victim of circumstance, you are the cause. And what you've created in consciousness is now breaking through the surface of your life. The world will watch and wonder how everything shifted so suddenly. But you will know. You will remember the quiet days when no one saw the seed. You will remember the nights when you watered your faith in silence. And you will know the truth. The blessing didn't come from the outside, it came from you. Because you are the seed. Your stillness is not emptiness, it's creation. In the world's eyes, silence often appears passive, as if nothing is happening. But in truth, silence is where everything begins. It is in the still, undisturbed spaces of your being that your entire reality is formed. The shift does not begin when circumstances change. It begins when your inner conversation changes, when your assumptions shift, when you stop reacting to what is and start imagining what can be. This is the hidden power of stillness. It is the place where miracles are born. In silence, you leave behind the noise of doubt, the pull of logic, the weight of what has been. You enter the inner sanctuary of your imagination, where time bends and limitations dissolve. It is here that you begin to feel not what is currently true, but what you desire to be true. And by daring to feel it real in this space, you set a law into motion. You are not hoping or wishing, you are accepting and embodying. That's creation. The world may call it doing nothing, but you know better. You know that stillness is not the absence of movement. It is the alignment of being. When your mind, your emotion, and your inner speech are united toward one assumption, you are more powerful than 1,000 actions. Because everything you do outwardly is simply a reflection of who you are inwardly. When you shift in silence, life begins to echo that new state. It doesn't matter if nothing outside has changed yet. The soil does not complain while the seed is sprouting beneath it. It trusts the process. So must you. When you rest inwardly in the state of already having what you desire, you change the energy you radiate. You stop grasping, you stop searching, you begin to embody. This silent alignment is the signal to the universe. It is not begging, it is claiming. And the universe listens to your vibration more than your words. It moves in response to your state, not your struggle. When you are still, you are no longer arguing with reality. You are no longer feeding the old story. You are simply dwelling in the new, in the unseen, in the felt experience of a better reality. This stillness is not idle. It is active faith. It is spiritual authority. You are no longer a victim of your circumstances. You are the creator of them. That is why the most profound transformations often begin in solitude. In the quiet of a morning, in the breath before sleep, in the moment where you detach from everything external and turn inward. You close your eyes and you see the life you choose to live. You feel it in your body. You walk through it in your mind. You speak from it as if it were already true. And in doing so, you bridge the gap between what is and what can be. It is not always dramatic. Sometimes the shift is subtle. A new calm, a strange peace, a soft confidence. These are signs that the old has been released and the new has taken root. You no longer seek proof, you carry it. You no longer wait for confirmation, you live as if it's already done. And because you do, the world must conform. So do not underestimate your silence. Do not dismiss your stillness. It is not emptiness, it is power. It is the sacred space where the invisible becomes visible. What you feel in that space will not stay hidden. It will shape your tomorrow. It will find a way to you in form, in time, in ways you could never predict. Let the world move in noise and effort, let others chase and plead. You, however, will retreat into the silence. You will feel the truth of your desire is already fulfilled. And because you do, it will come. Because the shift, the real shift, always begins in silence. Do not look for signs, be the sign. The moment you stop seeking confirmation in the outer world and begin embodying the truth within, everything changes. You are not meant to wait for life to show you proof. You are meant to become the evidence of what you believe. The world mirrors what you are, not what you wish for. When you walk with certainty, when you move from conviction instead of hesitation, reality bends to reflect that state. So many people spend their lives scanning the outside for signs, a number, a message, a synchronicity to validate their desire. But the moment you look outside for confirmation, you give away your creative power. You hand over your authority to chance when it was always meant to live within you. The true sign is not something you find, it's something you become. You are the carrier of the message, the embodiment of the answered prayer, the living signal that your desire is already fulfilled. The universe does not respond to begging, it responds to assumption. When you assume a state internally, when you live, breathe, and feel from the end, you shift your energy. And this shift, although invisible to others at first, becomes magnetic. It begins to attract experiences, people, and moments that echo the frequency you now hold. You are no longer asking if it will come. You're moving as though it's already here. This is not delusion, it's alignment. And it is the secret behind every so-called miracle. Before anything shows up in form, it must exist in feeling. Feel the shift before you see it, and the blessing must appear, not because you forced it, but because life cannot contradict what you have already accepted as true. You must dare to be it. Not wish for it, not talk about it endlessly, not analyze how it will come. Simply be the one who already has it. Think like them, walk like them, speak from that version of you. This is the act of creation. It's not about controlling the outside. It's about transforming the inside, and when the inner changes, the outer must follow. You've looked for signs long enough. You've waited for reassurance, for a message from the sky, for a lucky break. But what if you are the message? What if the very presence of your unwavering belief is the most powerful sign of all? Do you want to see a sign? Look in the mirror and ask yourself who you are being. That is the only sign you ever need. If you are embodying doubt, fear, and hesitation, the world will echo that. If you are embodying trust, gratitude, and certainty, life will match that too. You are always sending a signal, even in silence, even when you say nothing, especially then. The ones who shift the world are not waiting to be told it's time. They declare that it is. They move first, they believe first, and because they do, the world rearranges. You don't get what you want, you get what you are. So become it now. Be the love, be the abundance, be the healing, be the success. Not tomorrow, not when things look different, Now, and as you continue in that state, the blessing becomes inevitable. What once seemed like magic becomes normal. What others call a sign becomes your natural reflection. You no longer search for alignment, you are alignment. So don't look for signs. Become the embodiment of your desire. Stand as proof that inner conviction is more powerful than external validation. Walk through life with the calm knowing that you are the cause, not the effect. When you stop waiting to see the shift and start being the shift, everything begins to move. Life responds. Doors open. Paths clear. And you won't need a sign anymore, because you will be one. Faith is a knowing, not a hoping. Hope looks to the future with uncertainty. It waits, it wishes, it pleads. But faith lives in the present moment, as if the future were already fulfilled. It does not reach forward, it stands now. Faith is the quiet confidence that what you have accepted in your imagination is already yours, even before your senses confirm it. You do not need evidence when you know. That is the difference. Hope watches the door. Faith walks through it. You do not wish for the blessing, you embody it. You walk as the one who has already received. You speak with the tone of fulfillment, not lack. You no longer look around wondering when. It is already done in you. This is not pretending. It is not play acting. It is the highest spiritual act of creation. You become the version of yourself who lives in the reality where the blessing has already arrived. This requires a shift in identity. You must stop seeing yourself as the one waiting to receive and begin seeing yourself as the one who has already received. You begin to carry yourself differently. You think from the end. You act in alignment with what you know, not what you fear. You stop negotiating with doubt because you have already claimed the promise. Your job now is not to make it happen. Your job is to remain loyal to the unseen. When you truly expect something, you prepare for it. You make room. If you were expecting guests to arrive, you would clean the house, set the table, open the door. You would act as if their arrival was certain. Why? Because expectation creates movement. In the same way, when you have faith in a blessing, you make space in your mind, in your habits, and in your emotions for it to enter. This is not blind optimism. This is spiritual intelligence. Faith is not measured by the volume of your prayers, but by the stability of your inner state. Can you stay steady in the silence? Can you remain faithful when there is no sign, no movement, no proof? That is the test. Not how loudly you affirm, but how deeply you rest. When the world gives you reasons to doubt, do you still choose to know? There is no such thing as unfulfilled faith. When you operate from true knowing, you activate a law that must be fulfilled. It may not come in the way you imagined or in the timing you hoped for, but it will come. It must. Because reality conforms to the consciousness that sustains it. And when your consciousness is rooted in certainty, the outer world bends to reflect that truth. Faith is not anxious. It is not desperate. It does not knock repeatedly on doors that remain shut. Faith knows that the right door opens at the right time. Faith doesn't collapse under delay. It deepens. It understands that the blessing was never withheld, it was being formed. It was growing roots. And when it arrives, you will see clearly that it had been making its way to you the entire time. So stop hoping, start knowing. Step into the life you desire as if it were already here. Speak from it. Think from it. Feel from it. Let every part of you align with the outcome you've already claimed. That alignment is the blessing in motion. You no longer wait for the miracle, you are the vessel of it. And because you know this, nothing can shake you. Not delay, not silence, not challenge. You stand firm in the invisible truth until it becomes visible. That is faith. And that is how the blessing finds you, not as a surprise, but as a certainty. Your current reality is a shadow. It is not the full picture. It is not the truth. It is the echo of the beliefs you've held, the assumptions you've lived in, the identity you've unconsciously worn. What you see around you is simply a reflection of your past state of being. It is not fixed. It is not final. It is a mirror, showing you what you've previously accepted as real. And just like a shadow, it is delayed. It trails behind you, never ahead. But here's the beauty of this truth. Once you realize that reality is not solid, not absolute, not sovereign, you are free. Free to shift, free to detach, free to release the grip on what is and to align instead with what could be, what should be, what already is in the unseen. That is where true creation happens, not in reacting to what is visible, but in resting in what is invisible but real. The moment you detach from appearances, something powerful happens. You stop feeding the illusion. You stop reinforcing the cycle. You no longer say, "This is just the way it is," or "Nothing's changing." Instead, you quietly affirm, "This is only the shadow of my past thinking. I now create a new." You understand that the moment you shift within, the outer must follow. Not instantly, but inevitably. You move into alignment not by force, but by recognition. You recognize that what you truly are, your desires, your visions, your longings, are not random fantasies, but deeper truths seeking expression. And they cannot express themselves while you are glued to the surface of things, distracted by what has been. The outer world will always reflect the dominant truth you carry inside. When you carry limitation, you experience lack. When you carry peace, you experience order. When you carry fulfillment, you experience abundance. Your job is not to fix the shadow. It's to change the light source. Shift the consciousness that is casting it. This means anchoring yourself in the unseen truth of your desire fulfilled, not begging for it, not waiting for permission, but accepting it as done within. This inner acceptance is everything. It sends out a new signal, a new frequency, and the world must realign to it. It has no choice. Let go of reacting to current conditions. The more you react, the more you lock yourself into them. Reality is fluid. It is always catching up to your state. When you begin to live, feel, and speak from the version of you who already has the blessing, that version begins to emerge. Not just within, but all around you. You do not need to fix what you see. You need to change what you believe. Because belief precedes manifestation. Inner knowing gives birth to outer confirmation. You are not at the mercy of the physical world. You are the cause, and the physical is the effect. When you stop wrestling with the shadow and instead stand in the light of truth, the shadow rearranges on its own. So walk gently through your current circumstances, not as someone trapped, but as someone passing through. You are shifting now. You are aligning now. You are choosing to see not with the eyes, but with the heart. And that choice, that inner pivot, is the birthplace of miracles. Detach, anchor, align. The blessing was never outside of you. It was always waiting for you to remember who you are. The moment you do, the shadow must change. Because it was never your reality. It was only the echo. The unexpected is inevitable when you assume correctly. The world calls it luck, coincidence, or fate. But those who understand the deeper lore of consciousness know better. They know that nothing enters your life uninvited. Everything that appears, every so-called surprise, every breakthrough, every shift is the result of a state you once assumed to be true. It is not about effort, it is not about struggle, it is about identity. Life responds not to your words, but to who you are being. To assume correctly means to embody the version of yourself that already has the desire fulfilled. You no longer act as the one who wants, you become the one who has. This assumption is not just a thought. It is a state. It is a felt experience, a decision to move, speak, feel, and think from the place of completion. You walk as though it's already yours. You carry yourself as though nothing is missing. And because you do, the universe begins to conform. This is where the so-called unexpected begins to show up. Not because you forced it, but because your assumptions set an unseen chain of events into motion. Opportunities arise, people change, circumstances shift, paths open, but it never happens the way you expect. That is the mystery and beauty of it. The surprise is not that it happens, but how. It's the timing, it's the precision, it's the grace with which it all unfolds. When you assume correctly, you're no longer trying to figure out the details. You stop chasing outcomes. You stop waiting for permission. You know it's already done in the unseen, and your job is simply to remain faithful to that truth. There is no more striving, no more waiting for signs. You become the sign. You live the proof. You radiate the feeling of already having it, and that feeling changes everything. And that feeling changes everything. The assumption is a creative act. It declares, this is who I am now, and refuses to negotiate with appearances that contradict it. It is not arrogance, it is alignment. It is not fantasy, it is foundation. And it is from this foundation that reality is built. Life must mirror back the dominant state you dwell in. If you live in lack, you see more of it. If you live in fulfillment, fulfillment finds you. This is not personal, it is law. So do not worry about how it will happen. Do not demand the path to be clear. The path is none of your business. Your role is the state. The state determines the outcome. And when you dwell in the state of the answered prayer, of the completed desire, the world bends itself to meet you there. People will look at you and wonder how it all came together. They'll call it sudden. They'll say it happened overnight. But you'll know there was nothing sudden about it. You became it long before it appeared. You assumed correctly. You aligned, you prepared. And because you did, life rearranged. You don't need to know the way. You just need to trust the law. The moment you assume the role of the blessed, the healed, the wealthy, the loved, the world begins to play its part. Everything starts to respond to the vibration you now hold. The outer begins to echo the inner, and the miracle must follow. So do not be surprised when it shows up. Smile, knowing it was already done. Marvel, not at that it came, but how beautiful it was orchestrated. You will realize that the unexpected was inevitable all along. You assumed correctly, and now the world must agree. You were never waiting on life, life was waiting on you. The moment you dared to believe, to assume, to embody what you could not yet see, the shift began. Every blessing, every breakthrough, every surprise was not a stroke of luck. It was the natural outcome of who you chose to be in silence. You are not separate from your desires. You are the seed, the soil, and the sun. And now, as you rest in that knowing, life must reveal what was always yours. So stop watching the clock. Stop begging for signs. Walk in the state of the answered prayer. Let the world catch up to the truth you already carry. The surprise is not that it's coming. The miracle is it's already here. Thank you for listening. Close your eyes for a moment. Feel the stillness. Beneath the noise of the world, something is happening, something sacred. Everything around you is shifting, rearranging, and aligning, not by chance, but by the movement of the unseen hand. You've prayed. You've waited. And now everything is about to multiply, not because of your effort alone, but because of the one who responds to belief. Multiplication doesn't come when you beg for it. It comes when you embody the state of already having it. That's the law. That's the truth. You don't need more signs. You don't need more proof. The stirring you feel within is the only sign you'll ever need. That nudge, that inner knowing, that's how the divine operates. Quietly, precisely, faithfully. You may have been looking at your life and seeing nothing but stillness, maybe even drought. But even in drought, the roots grow deep. Even in silence, the voice of God speaks. And when His hand begins to move, the multiplication is not gradual, it is sudden. It is complete. It is miraculous. Everything you've imagined, every vision you've held in your heart was not a fantasy. It was a preview. And the one who gave you the desire also gave you the means to fulfill it. Through assumption, through inner conviction, through the divine act of feeling it done. It is not your job to figure out the how. It is not your duty to trace every step. That belongs to the unseen force that governs all. Your only task is to become it now. Act as if it were already so. Think from the end, not of it. When you do, something ancient is activated. A holy multiplication begins, not in your bank account first, not in your relationships first, but in your awareness. And once it is multiplied in spirit, the world has no choice but to echo it. You are not forgotten. You are not behind. You are being multiplied in silence. So bless the quiet seasons. Honor the unseen labor. Rejoice in what you cannot yet explain. For it is written in spirit before it is revealed in form. God's hand is moving, not to subtract, not to divide, but to multiply. Your peace, your joy, your resources, your calling. Stand in that knowing. Speak as one who already has. Walk as one who is already blessed. The evidence is coming, but the feeling is the first miracle. The invisible is turning visible. The seeds you've planted in faith are breaking through the surface. The door you once knocked on has been opened wide. And now, everything is about to multiply, because when God moves, He multiplies. God demands and requires everything in your life. What you call reality is but the echo of what you have accepted within. The world is not happening to you, it is responding to you. Not your words, not your effort, but your inner acceptance. This is the secret. Multiplication does not begin with things, it begins in consciousness. You may think that more money, more success, more love must appear before you can feel abundant. But the truth is the opposite. The moment you feel abundant, regardless of what the outer shows, the process of multiplication has already begun. This is the divine law in motion. Whatever you accept as true in imagination will clothe itself in form. Your imagination is not idle. It is the workshop of God, the creative power that molds reality like clay. And what you consistently feel to be true in that inner workshop must eventually emerge on the screen of life. If you desire to see multiplication in your finances, your relationships, your opportunities, you must first multiply your awareness. Abundance must be assumed, lived, and believed internally before the harvest appears. Most people are waiting for a sign to believe. But belief itself is the sign. When you believe something so deeply that it no longer feels like a wish, but a fact, then consciousness has accepted it. And what the mind accepts as reality, the world must reflect. You are not praying to something outside of you. You are aligning with what already exists in a higher realm. You are calling it forth, not by force, but by faith. You are not chasing multiplication. You are embodying it. And embodiment always precedes evidence. It is not the striving that multiplies, it is the stillness. It is not the begging that draws the increase, it is the assuming. The one who assumes the feeling of the wish fulfilled multiplies without lifting a finger, for their inner world is already in possession of the blessing. This is why you must train yourself to feel wealthy before wealth arrives, to feel chosen before love appears, to feel elevated before the promotion is offered. For when you do, you bypass the illusions of time and cause. You live in the result, not the effort. Look around you. Whatever you see is the residue of past assumptions. If your present reality does not reflect what you desire, do not argue with it. Do not react. Instead, return to the inner world and plant the seed again. Refuse to let the outer dictate your inner, because once the inner is set, the outer must follow. It is not magic, it is law, and it does not fail. Every multiplication begins as a single, unseen thought, a moment of agreement in consciousness, a quiet inner yes that says, "This is now who I am." That moment is sacred. That moment carries the power to rearrange everything. You do not need to wait. You do not need to hustle. You do not need to convince the world. You only need to convince yourself. So sit with it. Feel the reality of your desire, not as a hope, but as a fact. Not as a dream, but as something already done. Embody it. Dwell in it. Walk in it. And without effort, without struggle, what was once invisible will begin to multiply around you, because consciousness is the only cause. And what you accept in imagination will not remain there. It must become your life. There is a sacred rhythm to how divine power moves. It does not announce itself with thunder. It does not need applause or spectacle. It moves in stillness, in certainty, in the quiet conviction that something has already changed. When multiplication begins, it rarely begins with noise. It begins with knowing. So many are looking for loud signs, explosions of blessings, visible breakthroughs, unmistakable moments of divine intervention. But the hand of God often moves in silence. It's not the earthquake that signals His presence, nor the fire, nor the wind, but the still, small voice within. That whisper, that calm certainty, that deep inner peace. That is where the multiplication starts. You may not feel anything on the surface. Your bank account may still look the same. The relationship may not have shifted. The job may not have appeared. But somewhere deep within you, a quiet click happens, a moment of alignment, a subtle shift in feeling, and suddenly you just know. You know it's done. You don't know how, you don't know when, but you're no longer waiting. You're walking in faith, not hoping, but knowing. That knowing is the sign, not the noise, not the applause, not the crowd's approval, not the external confirmation. You see, divine certainty is not built on logic. It is built on trust. When you trust that what you've asked for has already been answered, you no longer look for validation in the outer world. You carry the answer within you. And that becomes the vibration that calls the multiplication into form. The world may call you foolish. They may say, "Where is it? What's changed?" But you will not be moved. Because deep within your being, you feel something unshakable. It is not excitement. It is not hype. It is not adrenaline. It is stillness. It is clarity. It is assurance. That's how God moves. When the divine hand begins to operate in your life, it first touches your perception. Your vision changes. You begin to see as if it's already done. You begin to speak from the end. You no longer reach. You rest. You no longer chase. You align. There is no need to announce it. No need to prove anything. The one who knows doesn't need to explain. Their life becomes the testimony, their energy becomes the invitation, and the multiplication follows naturally because their faith has already made room for it. The moment you stop needing the noise is the moment you start recognizing the truth, because noise fades, feelings fluctuate, but knowing remains. That is how blessings multiply. Through still conviction, not striving. Through quiet belief, not loud desperation. Through the gentle power of assumption, not through the panic of evidence seeking. So do not be discouraged if your life feels still right now. Stillness is not the absence of movement. It is the preparation for it. It is the sacred hush before the bloom. It is the calm before the doors open. In that quiet place, let your faith deepen. Let your inner knowing take root, because when you know it is done, truly know, it is already unfolding. Even if your eyes cannot see it, your spirit knows it. And that is enough. The signs of multiplication may not come with thunder, they may not be dramatic, but they will come with peace. They will come with a sudden absence of worry, a detachment from outcome, a silent joy that whispers, "It is finished." That is the movement of God. Not loud, but certain. Not public, but powerful. And when it arrives, you will realize He had been moving all along. Whatever you dwell upon, you give life to. Your attention is not passive, it is creative. Wherever you place it, you plant a seed. And like all seeds, it begins to grow, to take root, to multiply. The mind is fertile soil, and what you continually water with your focus and emotion will become the harvest of your life. This is why you must be deliberate with what you allow to occupy your inner world. The thoughts you revisit, the feelings you rehearse, the scenes you replay. These are not meaningless habits. These are acts of creation. Every dominant thought is a prayer. Every repeated feeling is an instruction to the invisible. You are constantly instructing the world to shape itself around your inner state. If you dwell on lack, you multiply it not because life is cruel, but because life is obedient. It gives you more of what you dwell upon, not to punish you, but to mirror you. You are not the victim of your circumstances, you are the author of them. Your outer world is simply the echo of your inner focus. This is the law. Where your attention goes, energy flows, and results grow. God does not multiply random desires. He multiplies what you hold in your heart as true. Your dominant state becomes the blueprint, and that blueprint is honored without fail. It doesn't matter if your words speak abundance, if your inner state screams fear. It is not the words. It is the energy behind them that moves mountains. So ask yourself, what do I dwell on when no one is watching? What feeling do I return to in the silence? That is the seed I am planting. That is the future I am shaping. You don't need to beg for change. You only need to change your focus. Shift your attention from what is missing to what is arriving, from what has been lost to what is now possible, from limitation to expansion, from fear to faith. The one who learns to dwell only on what they desire, without contradicting it with doubt, is the one who sees miraculous multiplication, not because they forced anything, but because they remain faithful to the feeling. Do not be casual with your inner life. It is the womb of your reality. What you carry there will be born into your experience. Be intentional, be selective. Your inner world is holy ground. Choose thoughts that affirm the life you want. Dwell on the end, not the means. Dwell on the result, not the resistance. Let your imagination feast on what is lovely, abundant, noble, and already complete. The moment you make this your dominant habit, everything changes. Slowly at first, then all at once. People will call it luck. You will know it as the harvest of what you chose to dwell upon in private. You don't need to control the entire world. You only need to master your inner state. Because your inner state is the seed, and the law of life is multiplication. God's hand is not far. It is within. It moves through your focus. It responds to your persistence. When you dwell in faith, He multiplies the outcome. When you dwell in lack, He multiplies the delay, not out of judgment, but reflection. So decide now what you will water. Decide now what you will rehearse. Refuse to entertain thoughts that drain you. Guard your mind as you would your most sacred treasure. Because it is. You are not waiting on God to move. God is waiting on you to dwell. And the moment your focus becomes clear, unwavering, and true, the multiplication begins. Delay is one of the most misunderstood parts of the process. To the surface mind, delay feels like punishment, like something has gone wrong, like your prayers have not been heard or your faith is being ignored. But what you call delay is often divine timing in disguise. And what appears to be stagnation is often unseen multiplication, growing in silence, preparing to emerge. Just because you don't see movement doesn't mean movement isn't happening. A seed doesn't sprout the moment it's planted. In fact, some of the most powerful growth happens in the dark, hidden from view. The root system takes shape underground before anything pushes through the surface. The same is true for the manifestations of your life. You imagined it, you felt it, you planted it in the soil of consciousness, but now you're tempted to doubt, to question, to dig it up and see if it's working. That's where many delay their own blessings. Not because the blessing wasn't coming, but because they disturbed the process with fear. Trust is not just believing that your desire is possible. Trust is knowing that its timing is perfect. Divine timing is never late, and it is never early. It aligns with the exact state of readiness in your spirit. You may think you're ready because you're desperate, but desperation is not readiness. Faith is. Readiness is the ability to receive without panic, to hold without clinging, to enjoy without fear. Delay is not denial. Delay is preparation. Delay is protection. Delay is the sacred orchestration of details too intricate for the human mind to grasp. While you're wondering when it's coming, divine intelligence is aligning people, places, conversations, and conditions so that when your desire arrives, it fits perfectly. But this requires patience. And patience is not passive. Patience is active trust. It is the refusal to give up, even when your senses offer no encouragement. It is the discipline of inner stillness, the knowing that the work is already done. There's a reason the harvest doesn't appear immediately. Imagine digging up the soil every day to check on the seed. It would never grow. But that's what many do with their manifestations. They plant the vision but keep uprooting it with doubt, fear, and impatience. You must leave it alone. You must trust the invisible process. Once a desire is accepted in imagination and felt to be true, it moves into gestation. This is the unseen phase, the silent phase. But it is no less active. It is here that the deepest changes occur. Not in your world, but in your being. Let the roots grow. Let the blessing mature. Let the invisible finish its sacred work. When you understand this, you stop begging, you stop checking, you stop doubting, you begin to praise it before it arrives. You begin to walk as if it's already yours. You begin to enjoy the peace that only comes from real faith. The ones who multiply are not the ones who wait perfectly. They're the ones who persist inwardly, who stay in the feeling even when there's no proof, who hold to the unseen even when the scene contradicts it. So if you're in a season that feels still, don't panic. Don't assume nothing is happening. What you call waiting is really building. What you call delay is really preparation. And what looks like emptiness is often the womb of overflow. Don't dig up what you planted. Don't question the process. Stay in alignment. Stay in gratitude. Stay in the feeling, because in one divine moment, everything can shift. And when it does, you'll realize it was never delayed at all. It was simply being made ready. Do not wait for the evidence. Do not wait for your bank account to change, the opportunity to appear, or the doors to open. The moment you assume the feeling of overflow, the divine law begins to move on your behalf. Reality does not create the feeling creates reality. There is a sacred power in assumption. Assumption is not fantasy, it is not pretending, it is not daydreaming. Assumption is the act of fully accepting a state as already real, already yours, already done. When you assume abundance, you are not wishing for it, you are being it. You are stepping into alignment with the version of yourself who already lives in the overflow. This is the divine order. First the feeling, then the form. Most people live the opposite way. They wait for circumstances to change so they can finally feel secure, finally feel rich, finally feel chosen. But this is the great error. Circumstances are reflections, not causes. They mirror your inner state. And if your inner state remains one of waiting, then life has no choice but to keep you in waiting. Then life has no choice but to keep you in waiting. But the one who understands the power of assumption reverses this order. They say, I will feel it now, not because I see it, but because I know it is already mine. They assume the feeling of wealth while walking through scarcity. They assume the feeling of love while surrounded by solitude. They assume the feeling of peace while the storm still rages. And it is this sacred act of inward ownership that causes life to reconfigure itself around them. The divine law is not slow. It is exact. The moment you shift within, the process begins. It may not be visible instantly, but it is activated immediately, and once activated, it cannot be undone, unless you withdraw the assumption. So guard your inner state. Protect the feeling. Do not let appearances distract you. To assume overflow is to embody gratitude before the gift arrives. It is to carry the posture of one who already has. You walk differently. You speak differently. You move with quiet confidence, not because something changed outside, but because everything changed within. You do not need to fake it. You need only feel it. What would it feel like to wake up knowing your supply was endless? How would you breathe, speak, and respond if abundance was your natural state? You do not need to wait to feel this, you can choose it now. And that choice is your bridge. It is your invitation to the divine law, saying, I am ready to receive, for I already believe. The mind will protest. It will say, but look around. Nothing has changed. That is your cue to go deeper, to feel beyond the senses, to remain faithful to the unseen. Because what you do not yet see is forming. What you do not yet touch is arriving. And what you've already assumed is already yours in the realm that matters most. So act from overflow now, give from overflow now, think from overflow now. Let your inner world be rich, not because you're trying to attract something, but because you've already accepted that it's done. This is the secret the world overlooks. When you assume abundance, you are not chasing blessings, you are matching them. And when the match is made, the manifestation is inevitable. Do not wait another day to feel what you desire. Feel it now, live it now, be it now. Overflow is not a future event. It is a present decision. And the moment you choose it, the law responds. The hand of God never begins with what you can see. It starts in the invisible. Beyond the reach of your five senses, beyond the surface of circumstance, beyond what others can validate or measure. All true multiplication begins spiritually first. It is formed in the realm of consciousness before it appears in the world of form. And this is why trust is the key. What you cannot yet see is not absent. It is simply unfolding. Like the roots of a mighty tree pushing deep into the soil, invisible to the eye, yet essential to its strength, so too is the movement of the divine. It begins in silence. It moves through the unseen. It prepares the ground long before the harvest breaks through. Most people look only at what is. They measure progress by what's visible, but the invisible is always greater. The invisible is where power lives. Everything that now exists once lived in thought, in vision, in spirit. The phone in your hand, the house you live in, the career you hold, each began in someone's mind, in someone's inner world. The same law governs your life. If you're not seeing the multiplication yet, do not be discouraged. Do not assume nothing is happening. That assumption is a lie told by the senses. The truth is far greater. What you've imagined, what you've believed, what you've accepted as already yours in your inner world is becoming. Not through effort, but through alignment. Not through force, but through divine order. You don't need to trace how it will happen. That is not your role. Your only task is to dwell in the state of the fulfilled desire, to feel the outcome as real and trust that the hand of God is moving, even when no movement is visible. Because He works behind the veil, He orchestrates in dimensions not yet revealed. So many abort their blessings by doubting what they cannot yet see. They plant the seed in faith and then dig it up in fear. But the ones who multiply are those who understand the law, first in spirit, then in form. When you pray, your prayer is answered immediately, in the unseen. The answer exists the moment the belief is formed. But it must mature. It must be drawn out by persistent alignment. Like water rising in a well, the substance is already present. It's simply being lifted by your unwavering faith. The hand of God is not idle. It is not silent because it is absent. It is silent because it is sacred. And the sacred always begins in secret. What you cannot see is being arranged. The right connections, the perfect timing, the ideal conditions, all coming together in ways you could not plan. But if you let appearances dictate your belief, you'll keep restarting the process. You'll keep canceling what heaven has already approved. That's why stillness is required. That's why inner conviction is more powerful than external facts. Believe in the invisible. Trust what your spirit knows, but your eyes cannot yet confirm. That is true power. That is faith. And that is where multiplication begins. So if the outer world still looks the same, rejoice. It means the real work is being done where it matters most. It means the invisible hand is moving, rearranging, aligning, unfolding. And in one sacred moment, the veil will lift. The spiritual will become visible. What once lived only in your imagination will stand before you in flesh. And you will realize it had already happened. You were just catching up to it. God moves through the invisible first. And when you trust that, you become unstoppable. Everything you desire, every overflow, every breakthrough, every multiplication is already in motion. But it does not begin with what you see. It begins with what you believe. The invisible is not empty. It is alive with purpose, forming your future through your assumptions, your feelings, and your faith. God's hand does not need noise to be powerful. It moves in certainty, in stillness, and in perfect timing. What you dwell upon expands. What you assume becomes. What you trust in the unseen unfolds in the seen. So guard your inner world, for it is the holy ground where all things begin. And above all, do not dig up in doubt what you planted in faith. Your harvest is not coming, it's already growing. Walk as though it's done, feel as though it's here, because it is. And the moment you align with that truth, the multiplication becomes inevitable. Sincere thank you line. Thank you for allowing these words to enter your spirit. May they remind you of who you truly are and the infinite abundance that is already yours. Close your eyes, not to escape the world, but to enter the one where your fortune already exists. The world you see with your senses is not final. It is merely the echo of what you have believed to be true about yourself. You've been taught to chase, to struggle, to strive. But wealth does not respond to strain. It flows to the one who knows it is already theirs. Massive wealth is not a future event. It's not something coming from far away. It's already here, but only visible to the one who dares to live in the state of already having it. The receiving mode is not about passively waiting. It is an inner assumption, a quiet power, a deep breath that says, I am already provided for. When you dwell in the consciousness of wealth, life reshapes to match it. The phone call comes, the opportunity appears, the money flows, but only after you've received it in spirit first. You don't manifest wealth by begging for it. You manifest wealth by becoming it in mind. Are you worrying about when it will come? That's resistance. Are you watching your bank account for signs? That's fear. Both block the flow. But when you walk with quiet confidence, when you rise in the morning and carry yourself as one who has, not one who wants, you become a magnet to what is already yours. Stop asking how. The how is none of your concern. Your only task is to dwell in the end. See the home. Feel the abundance. Smile at the overflow. Let it be real inside of you before you ever hold it in your hand. When doubt creeps in, return to the state. Return to the inner wealth. Return to the knowing that all things respond to your self-concept. Massive wealth is not a miracle. It's a reflection. So, stay in receiving mode. Not by effort, not by force, but by calm acceptance that you are now the one who has. The shift is internal. The results are inevitable. Live as though it's already done, because it is. And soon your world will echo what you've dared to believe. Stay still. Stay faithful. Stay wealthy in your mind. The floodgates are opening, and this time it's not a trickle. It's massive. Everything you see around you began as a thought, an inner assumption, a quiet decision within someone's consciousness. The phone in your hand, the clothes you wear, the building you live in. Each of these was once an unseen idea, believed in before it ever took form. So it is with wealth. The money you seek, the success you envision, the prosperity you long to experience, they are not created by your hands first, but by wealth begins in the unseen. It does not arrive by chance, nor is it gifted only to the lucky. It is formed first in the invisible realm of belief and assumption. What you accept as true within yourself becomes the law by which your world operates. If you assume yourself poor, struggling, or overlooked, life will reflect that belief with precise accuracy. But if you begin to assume right now that you are already wealthy, already favored, already surrounded by abundance, you shift your entire world into alignment with that truth. The outer world is only a mirror. It reflects what you persistently assume to be true about yourself and your reality. You are not reacting to life, you are constantly projecting onto it. When you believe that you are broke, life offers evidence to confirm it. But when you dare to assume you are rich in spirit, in mind, in opportunity, and in resources, That assumption will shape your experiences and attract circumstances that match your belief. This is not about delusion, this is about dominion over your inner state. The truth is, your current reality is not the final authority. It's only the echo of your past thoughts, yesterday's assumptions, showing up in form. If you do not like what you see, do not argue with it, do not resist it. Simply change your assumption. Begin to walk as one who already has. Let your imagination become your workshop. See yourself signing the checks. Imagine the bank notifications arriving. Feel the ease of paying bills without concern. Picture the smile on your face as you receive what you once only hoped for. You must train your mind to feel the naturalness of wealth, even if your current reality says otherwise. And here's the key. Your assumption must be persisted in, not for a minute, not for a day, but until it becomes more real to you than your physical circumstances. You must embody it so fully that your mind accepts it as fact. And once your mind accepts it, life has no choice but to mirror it. Think of a person who walks with confidence. Why? Because somewhere within they assume they are worthy, powerful, attractive. That assumption changes their posture, their tone, the way the world responds to them. Wealth works the same way. When you assume yourself to be abundant, your energy changes. You speak differently, you walk into rooms differently. You stop doubting and start expecting. And life, seeing that expectation, delivers. Do not wait for outer proof to change your inner state. Reverse the flow. Inner first, outer second. You are the cause, your world is the effect. And wealth, being part of your world, must obey the law of assumption just like everything else. There is no need to chase or struggle. Just become inwardly the person who already has. The moment you do, the reality around you begins to rearrange itself to match your new self-concept. That is the secret few ever understand. You already are what you seek to be. Let the assumption take root. Let it live within you quietly but boldly. Feel the wealth, not as something you're trying to get, but as something you already are. And soon, what is true within will become undeniable without. Imagination is not child's play, nor is it mere fantasy. It is the very mechanism by which reality is shaped. Everything that now exists in your world began first as a vision, as an image in the mind of someone who dared to believe in the unseen. The same is true for your own life. The wealth, love, success, peace, and freedom you desire are not destinations to chase. They are realities to enter through imagination. Imagination is the bridge to possession. It allows you to experience a thing before it physically arrives, to embody the feeling of having it while it's still invisible. And this is no small act, it is the creative act. Because whatever you consistently imagine with emotion, with belief, with repetition, must eventually manifest in the physical world. Not because it's magic, but because imagination plants the seeds, and your world faithfully grows the fruit. You do not imagine for entertainment, you imagine to claim. You do not merely visualize, you enter into the state of having. When you imagine vividly, when you can see it, feel it, hear it, and know it, something begins to shift. The subconscious mind accepts the imagined scene as real, and it goes to work orchestrating everything needed to bring it about. But this is the crucial point. It must be done with feeling. Dry repetition means nothing. You could repeat affirmations all day and achieve little if they are not infused with belief and emotion. The world does not respond to words. It responds to states. The more real your imagined experience becomes to you, the more power it holds. If you can weep over a scene that hasn't yet happened, laugh at an outcome not yet seen, or feel the thrill of success before a single dollar hits your account, you are already living in the possession of that desire. And soon enough, the outer world must reflect it. Imagination gives you access to any life you choose. There are no limits in that inner realm. You are free to rewrite your story, to paint new pictures, to select new outcomes. And when those images are repeated with faith, they become your truth. You're not lying to yourself when you imagine wealth in the midst of lack. You are choosing the truth that will soon replace what is now only a shadow. The world will try to tell you to be realistic, but what they call realism is often just a repetition of yesterday's thinking. Your circumstances are not fixed. They are fluid, changeable, pliable, and it is your imagination that molds them. Every time you imagine the life you want and feel it as real, you are crossing the bridge from wanting to having. This is why daydreams are so powerful if directed. When you imagine yourself living in your dream home, traveling freely, surrounded by overflow, and you let yourself feel what that would be like, you are planting a new reality. You are reprogramming your mind, breaking the limits of the past and stepping into a new dimension of being. And it is not your job to worry about how it will happen. The bridge of incidents, the sequence of events that brings you to the physical realization, will form on its own. All you must do is walk across the bridge of imagination daily. Enter the scene, live the moment, dwell in the feeling, and then go about your day in peace, knowing that what is real within will soon be real without. Bring the wearies within will soon be real without. You already hold the power, not in your effort, not in your striving, but in your imagination. Use it not to escape life, but to create it. Imagine until it feels natural, and when it does, possession is not far behind. Because what you consistently and vividly imagine with feeling becomes the very world you walk into. The state of receiving is not noisy. It does not scream, plead, or chase. It does not rehearse long prayers or anxiously count the days. True receiving is quiet. It is still. It is a silent knowing, a deep, unwavering inner agreement that what you have asked for is already yours. There is no struggle in real faith, no panic, no desperation, only peace. Most people believe that asking over and over again shows devotion or desire, but repetition often reveals doubt. When you truly believe you have received, you stop asking and begin thanking. You shift from striving to stillness, from questioning to confidence. This is the posture of one who is in alignment with their answer, not someone waiting for it to come, but someone already walking in it. When a person orders a meal at a restaurant, they don't follow the waiter to the kitchen, begging the chef to prepare it. They don't stand by the door asking again and again if it will arrive. They sit, they talk, they enjoy the moment because they trust the system is working. The order has been placed, the request has been heard, and now it's just a matter of time. So it is with all things in your life. You've placed your order through your thoughts, your desires, your assumptions. The moment you felt it real in your imagination, the request was made. The moment you believed, it was done. But your job now is not to make it happen. It is to remain in the state of receiving, which means staying in agreement with the outcome. No resistance, no questioning, just calm acceptance. The mind loves to question timelines, to measure progress, to demand signs, but those are traps of the logical self. The receiving self does not entertain them. It simply knows. It knows that the unseen is more real than what the eyes can detect. It knows that if you persist in the assumption that it is already yours, the world must shift to reflect that truth. Think of a radio. If you want to hear a certain station, you don't complain that it's not playing. You don't ask why it's silent. You simply tune to the correct frequency, and the signal comes through. Receiving is about tuning yourself to the frequency of your desire. Feeling now what you would feel then. Acting now as you would act then. Being now who you would be then. This is not pretending, this is alignment. When you receive in spirit, the physical must follow. But if you return to worry, to begging, to frustration, you have stepped out of that state. You are no longer tuned in. The world responds to your inner stance. If you carry the energy of lack, it will reflect lack. If you carry the energy of abundance, it will reflect abundance. That's why stillness is so powerful, because stillness is not inactivity, it is spiritual confidence. It is the bold silence that knows the answer has already been dispatched. Every time you catch yourself wondering when or how, gently return to the knowing. Speak not to convince the world, but to affirm your own faith. It is done. I have it now. I live in the result. Let these be your silent thoughts as you go about your day. Receiving does not mean waiting. It means walking in the reality of the answered prayer before the evidence arrives. That is the secret. So stop begging, stop chasing, stop doubting, and instead receive. Let your heart rest in the unseen reality you have claimed. Let your mind be at peace, knowing that the seed has already been planted, and now in perfect silence, watch it grow. When you desire something deeply, whether it be wealth, love, health, or peace, the natural tendency of the human mind is to immediately ask, how will it happen? It wants to calculate, control, and predict every step. But that very question is the trap. It distracts you from the true work, which is to remain in the state of the wish fulfilled. The how is not your part of the process. It belongs to the unseen forces, the divine intelligence that weaves together circumstances in ways far beyond your limited reasoning. Your job is singular. Live in the end. See only the final outcome. Feel it as real. Move as though it is already done. That is your responsibility. The rest, how it comes to pass, when it comes to pass, through whom or what means, must be left alone. If you try to interfere with the process by forcing solutions, you only step out of alignment with the very thing you're trying to attract. The end is the only thing that matters. When you live in the end, you dwell in the energy of completion. You are no longer grasping, no longer doubting, no longer attempting to manipulate reality. Instead, you have surrendered to the truth that what you desire already exists in the unseen and is finding its way into form. To live in the end is to walk in quiet confidence. It is to wake up each day knowing that things are unfolding perfectly, even if on the surface nothing seems to be changing. It is to trust that the bridge of incidents is forming, piece by piece, without your conscious effort. Like a puzzle being assembled in the dark, the right pieces are being connected while you sleep, while you rest, while you go about your day in peace. You do not need to chase connections, force opportunities, or constantly evaluate your progress. These are symptoms of fear, not faith. The moment you begin to wonder whether it's working, you've stepped out of the end and returned to the middle. But the middle is filled with uncertainty and it robs you of your power. Stay in the end and everything required will be summoned to meet you. Think of a traveler who knows their destination. They do not worry about each turn, every intersection, or every delay. They remain calm because the route is set. That is how you must move through life. Your desire is the destination. And as long as you stay emotionally and mentally aligned with that destination, the universe will guide your every step, even if you cannot see how. It may come through a conversation you didn't plan, an idea that drops into your mind unexpectedly, a detour that turns into a divine connection. These are not coincidences. These are the hidden hands of providence, moving on your behalf because you dared to believe the end was real. You don't have to do more, you have to believe more. The work is not in the outer world, it is in the inner world. Train yourself to return again and again to the feeling of already having. Whenever doubt knocks, answer with vision. Whenever impatience arises, respond with faith. You are not here to figure it out, you are here to see it done. Feel the money in your hands. Hear the words of love you long to receive. See yourself living the life you've imagined. And let the rest go. And the unseen forces are not blind. They are intelligent, responsive, and precise. But they respond not to anxiety, but to certainty. Not to control, but to surrender. So, detach from the how. Stop interfering with what is already on its way. Anchor yourself in the end and let the infinite intelligence arrange every detail. When you live in the end, life will rise to meet you there. Delay does not mean denial. It is not punishment, nor is it the universe withholding from you. Delay is simply a mirror, a reflection of the conversation still happening within your own mind. If wealth seems slow in coming, it is not because you are cursed or forgotten or unworthy. It is because some part of you is still entertaining the idea that lack might be more real than abundance. Your inner state is still negotiating, still wavering between two beliefs. I am rich and I hope I become rich. And where there is double-mindedness, there is delay. The outer world is precise. It doesn't bring what you wish for, it brings what you are. And if your dominant inner feeling is uncertainty, fear, or desperation, your reality will respond accordingly. But this is not bad news, it is divine feedback. Delay is not working against you, it is revealing to you what still needs to be shifted inside. Most people, when faced with delay, try harder on the outside. They work more, chase more, beg more, and try to force manifestation into form. But the real solution is not outer effort. It is inner realignment. You must examine what you are truly believing and feeling. You must ask, am I living in the state of wealth or merely visiting it in moments of hope? Realignment is the remedy. You do not fight the delay, you use it. You let it show you where you've been unconsciously holding on to stories of limitation. Perhaps inherited beliefs about money being hard to earn, or guilt about wanting more, or fear that wealth will not stay. These internal stories are subtle, but they are powerful. They shape your emotional tone, and your emotional tone is what sets the stage for what appears in your life. To realign is not to strive, it is to return. Return to the end. Return to the version of yourself who already has. Delay loses all power the moment you shift into certainty. When you say, I am already provided for, and you feel the truth of that, the outer world has no choice but to match it. The mirror changes when you change your reflection. Think of delay as a gentle teacher. It is not saying no, it is saying not yet. Not until your inner atmosphere can sustain what you've asked for. Because life is not interested in giving you what will overwhelm you or be destroyed by your own disbelief. It will wait until you are fully convinced. Not outwardly, but inwardly. Not in words, but in vibration. So instead of cursing the delay, bless it. Let it prompt you to become more intentional with your thoughts. Let it call you deeper into the feeling of having. Let it strip away every lingering doubt and refine your state of being. Because when the inner work is complete, the outer manifestation must come. You are not waiting on money, money is waiting on you. To align, to allow, to accept. The moment you stop negotiating with lack, the moment you stop asking, where is it, and start saying, it is done, the energy shifts and the delay ends. You do not have to be perfect. You just have to be persistent. Keep returning to the state of the wish fulfilled. Keep choosing wealth in your thoughts, in your emotions, in your assumptions. Live as though it's already here, and it will arrive faster than you expect. Delay is never denial. It is direction. It is redirection. It is an invitation to strengthen your foundation so that when the blessing comes, you are ready to hold it with peace. Change your state, and the mirror will change. Faith is not a fleeting hope or a wish made in desperation. True faith is persistent. It stands firm even when the outer world appears unchanged. It does not flinch at delay, nor does it retreat in the face of contradiction. Persistent faith holds the vision of the desired outcome so steadily, so consistently, that reality itself must bend and reshape to match it. To feel rich now, even when your bank account is empty, is not delusion, it is creation. It is the conscious choice to live from a higher truth than what the senses currently report. Your outer world is not fixed, it is fluid. It is clay, responding moment by moment to the dominant feelings, beliefs, and assumptions you hold within. And faith, persistent, unwavering faith, is the hand that molds that clay. Most people only believe what they can see, but those who understand the deeper laws of life know the opposite is true. You see what you first believe. What appears in your world today is a product of past thoughts, past emotions, past assumptions. If you want something different tomorrow, you must feel something different now. This is where the power of persistent faith comes in. It is not about forcing or faking, it is about dwelling in the feeling of the wish fulfilled, regardless of appearances. If you want to experience wealth, you must begin to feel wealthy now. Not someday, not after the evidence arrives, but now. Because the moment you feel it and persist in that feeling, you are changing your inner state. And when the inner state changes, the outer world must follow. This is not instant, but it is inevitable. The world is faithful to reflect your belief, but only after it has become stable, solid, and dominant within you. If you vacillate between faith and fear, between knowing and doubting, your results will be unstable. But if you persist, quietly, calmly, steadily, reality will conform. This is why it's said that you walk by faith, not by sight. You are not ruled by the numbers, by the reports, by the temporary shadows of the present. You are ruled by the unseen substance of what you believe and feel. When you remain faithful to the end you have chosen, when you return to it over and over again with love and conviction, you give life to that vision. You breathe it into form. Faith rewrites reality, not through effort, but through embodiment. When you feel rich, you act differently. You speak differently. You think in terms of abundance, not limitation. You make decisions from expansion, not fear. And these small inner and outer shifts become the stepping stones toward the world you have imagined. It's easy to have faith when things are going well. But persistent faith is forged in silence, in solitude, in the space between the asking and the receiving. It is in those moments when nothing seems to be happening that you must decide what you believe. Will you bow to the temporary, or will you stand in the eternal truth of your imagination? You are always creating. The question is, are you creating by default, reacting to the world, or are you creating by design, persisting in the unseen until it becomes seen? Faith is the bridge. It connects where you are to where you desire to be. And as long as you hold the vision, refuse to let go, and feel its truth deep in your body, reality will have no choice but to catch up. So do not be swayed by current evidence. What you see now is not permanent. It is merely the echo of old thoughts. Begin today to feel rich, to move in abundance, to speak with certainty. Let that be your new inner rhythm. And as you persist, reality will yield. Because persistent faith always rewrites the world. Massive wealth is not a distant dream. It is already forming in the unseen, responding to your inner world. When you assume abundance, imagine vividly, receive silently, detach from the how, learn from delays, and persist in unwavering faith, you step into the realm where the impossible becomes inevitable. Your job is not to strive, but to align. Live in the end. Feel it as real. Walk as though it's already done. The universe is not waiting for effort, it is waiting for your agreement. Stay in receiving mode, and what is yours by divine design will find its way to you with precision and power. Say thanks. Thank you for allowing these words to find their way into your spirit. May they remind you of who you are and what already belongs to you. Walk forward not with fear, but with knowing. The wealth is already yours. Just receive it.